Saren Lark had a rule she never broke: stay invisible. It was easier that way, easier than being misunderstood, underestimated, or talked over by people who loved the sound of their own certainty. As the junior coordinator at the Renwick Foundation, she did her work quietly, precisely, and without ever stepping into the spotlight, which was why tonight felt like a mistake. The gala was larger than any she'd attended: velvet drapes, gold-lit ceilings, a string quartet playing something haunting in the background. Guests dressed like royalty drifted across the ballroom, glasses sparkling as bright as their laughter. Saren didn't belong here. She knew it. Everyone else seemed to know it too. She had been sent only because her boss fell sick at the last minute, leaving her to deliver a set of project files to the one man everyone was desperate to impress: Rowan Ashford, the billionaire who didn't bend, who didn't stumble, who didn't trust. People said he had no weaknesses, no patience for small talk or false charm. A man carved from discipline and ambition, untouched by distraction. Saren had only seen him in magazines or in brief televised interviews, where his expression never changed, a sharp, unreadable calm that made even seasoned executives nervous. He wasn't the kind of man who noticed people like her. Saren reached into her bag, feeling for the sealed envelope she'd been tasked to deliver. Her fingers brushed the edge of the packet, just as a group of women passed by. Who is she? Staff, maybe. No look at her dress, definitely not staff. Maybe someone dragged her in. She looks terrified. She looks lost. Saren lowered her gaze. It shouldn't bother her. She'd heard worse. She threaded through the crowd, ignoring the murmurs, searching for the one man who could end her task quickly so she could leave this glittering cage of scrutiny. She spotted the event director and tapped his arm lightly. "I'm looking for Mr. Ashford," she said softly. The director blinked down at her. "Is he expecting you?" Not exactly," she admitted, "but I have documents his office requested." He hesitated, clearly unconvinced, but then nodded to a roped-off balcony above the ballroom. "He's there, alone, as usual." Saren thanked him and moved up the staircase, each step feeling heavier than the last. Her palms were warm, her chest tight. She took a steadying breath, reminding herself this wasn't personal. It was a job, just a job. At the top, she found Rowan Ashford leaning against the stone railing, the city lights behind him fracturing into gold through the glass. He wore a black suit that seemed made to match his presence, controlled, confident, quietly dangerous. He didn't turn when she approached. "Mr. Ashford?" she said softly. His head lifted slightly, a fraction of a movement. "Yes." His voice low, smooth, but with an edge like cold steel wrapped around her too easily. Saren swallowed. I have something for you." He turned fully, and in that moment, her breath snagged. Rowan Ashford looked at her as though assessing danger, intelligence, and motive all at once. Eyes dark, unreadable, jaw set, posture relaxed only in the way men relaxed when they didn't have to try. "What do you have for me?" he asked. Saren held out the sealed envelope. "Project files from the Renwick Foundation. They said you wanted these before the review meeting next week." Rowan didn't take the envelope. He stepped closer, slow, deliberate steps that made Saren's pulse flutter. He didn't touch her. He didn't crowd her, but his presence felt encompassing. "What's your name?" he asked. "Saren," she said. "Saren," he repeated thoughtfully. "You're not the one who usually delivers these." "No, my boss couldn't come." And they sent you instead? His tone wasn't mocking. It was curious, almost too curious, as though the idea surprised him. Yes, she whispered. Rowan finally accepted the envelope. His fingertips brushed hers for a second, barely a second, and Seren felt something dart beneath her skin. Something hot and unfamiliar. He noticed. Of course he noticed. His eyes sharpened, his posture tightening by a degree so subtle most people wouldn't detect it. But Seren did. Thank you, he said quietly. You can go. He turned away. Seren should have left, should have walked down those stairs, grabbed her coat, stepped back, into her small, ordinary world. But something anchored her there. It wasn't his wealth, or his reputation, or even the faint exhaustion behind his controlled expression. It was the strange ache in his voice, like someone who carried too much alone. Before she could talk herself out of it, she said softly, "Are you all right?" Rowan froze. Slowly, he turned back toward her. "Why would you ask me that?" "Because," Serene clasped her hands to hide the trembling. "You look like someone who never gets asked." Something flickered across his face. Surprise, sharp and unguarded. A crack in the armor of the man the world said had no weaknesses. Rowan stepped closer, close enough that she felt the faint heat of him, close enough that she felt swallowed by the quiet intensity of his gaze. "Seren," he murmured, "I don't break." But there was a lie in his voice, a soft one, a hidden one, and she heard it. Seren tilted her chin up, meeting his gaze without fear this time. "Come closer," she whispered. The words slipped out of her before she could stop them, gentle, instinctive, meant to soothe rather than tempt. But everything inside Rowan Ashford shifted. His breath hitched, his jaw clenched, his eyes cold, steady, disciplined finally faltered. And the man with no weakness began to fall apart. For a moment, Rowan Ashford didn't move, didn't breathe, didn't blink. Serene's words hung between them, soft, steady, impossibly gentle. And somehow they hit him harder than every executive challenge, hostile takeover, and courtroom battle he'd fought in his life. Come closer. He didn't know why those two words shook him, but they did. Slowly, hesitantly, Rowan stepped forward until only a sliver of moonlit air separated them. Seren didn't back away. She didn't look intimidated. She simply watched him with those calm, patient eyes that saw too much and judged too little. "Why did you say that?" he asked, voice lower than before. Seren's breath trembled, but her shoulders remained steady. "Because you look like you're carrying something you shouldn't have. To carry alone." Rowan exhaled, a sound that was almost a laugh, but too hollow to be one. "I don't do alone because I'm weak. I do it because trusting the wrong person once nearly destroyed everything I built." Seren softened. "I'm not asking you to trust me." "Then what are you asking?" He leaned in closer than he should, closer than he ever let anyone get. Seren didn't flinch. "I'm asking you to breathe," she whispered. "Just once, without guarding yourself." Guarding himself was the only thing he knew how to do. Walls, precision, control. It was his language, his armor, his survival. But something about her, this quiet woman who wasn't dazzled by him, who wasn't trying to impress him, who wasn't afraid of him, made the armor feel suddenly, suffocatingly heavy. He looked down at her, searching for the calculation, the hidden motive. There wasn't one. He found only steadiness, warmth, a strange, unfamiliar safety. And before he could stop it, something inside him cracked the smallest fracture, but real. His voice emerged softer than he'd ever allowed in public. "Seren, You don't know what you're doing to me. She blinked up at him. I'm not trying to do anything. That's the problem, he murmured. You're the first person in years who isn't. Seren felt her pulse flutter, but she didn't retreat. Her hand lifted hesitant, unsure, and she rested it lightly on the railing beside him. Not touching him, not crossing a line, just staying. It was somehow more powerful than any bold gesture could have been. Rowan's gaze drifted to her hand, then back to her face. His breathing changed, less measured, more human. Seren, he whispered again. You need to leave. If you stay any longer. She tilted her head. What happens if I stay? Rowan swallowed hard. The disciplined billionaire, the man who commanded boardrooms with a single word, looked suddenly, devastatingly undone. I won't be able to pretend, he said. Not with you. Seren's voice dropped to a whisper. Pretend what? That I'm fine, he said simply. That nothing gets to me, that I'm unbreakable. He lifted a hand as if to touch her, stopped, lowered it. But you, he breathed, you say 2 words and I feel everything. Seren's chest tightened. She didn't know what she was supposed to say, didn't know what this moment meant, didn't know why a man, with a fortress around his heart, had let her inside even for a breath. But she found herself whispering, You don't have to pretend with me. The words hit him like a truth he wasn't ready for. Rowan closed his eyes just for a moment, and when he opened them, the weakness people said he didn't have shimmered clearly across his expression. Not fragility, not fear, something deeper, something real. He stepped closer, voice barely audible. Seren, please don't walk away from me.